All right, let's get started. So welcome everybody to Key Lime Interactive's second Emerging Tech Masterclass. Our team has been working in the extended reality space for quite some time now. In fact, our CEO has been working in the VR field since 1998. During these times, since all of us are confined to our homes and sitting in front of our screens most of the day, we thought we shared our insights and learnings through this COVID Masterclass. It's designed for anyone who is interested in learning more about the best way to design, test, and build excellent customer user experiences, especially in VR, AR, and more tech. We also have experts spend some time towards the end of the masterclass answering questions that you might have or helping you troubleshoot problems. So if you have any burning questions or if you come across some problems that you need help with, feel free to pop them in the questions tab. Next slide. Keylime Interactive is a user experience research and design agency with a sweet spot for emerging tech. We are strategists, researchers, designers, and thought leaders. We work with a lot of Fortune 500 companies, and our clients range from tech companies to medical supply companies. So yeah, today's masterclass is going to be on how to get your brand ready for mobile augmented reality prime time. We have two experts with us today. I'm Ayush Bhargav. I have a lot of experience with XR, especially in interaction techniques, perception, cyber sickness, and obviously user experience. And I will be moderating the Q&A section. And we also have Gia Perez, who is an expert in evolutionary research and development of AR products, and she will be taking us through this masterclass. Now, before I hand it off to Gia, we have a poll for you guys. So next slide. So soon in a second, you'll see a poll pop up. So if you could take a minute and right, hold on, and there we go. If you could take a minute and answer that poll, and then we can move on to the actual masterclass. And just a reminder, you can pop any questions that you have in the questions tab, and we also have a handout in the section that says handout that you can look at that gives you a lot of tips and also gives you a lot of resources related to mobile AR. Looks like we're just waiting on one or two more people to fill in the poll. All right, awesome. Looks like most of our audience here are beginners. That's great. You will learn a lot of good stuff in this masterclass. Well, with that, take it away, Gia.
All right. Thank you so much for that. And all right. So I'm very excited to talk about mobile AR today. This comes out of some internal research that we did at Keylime Interactive, as well as the collaborative expertise of the XR Strikeforce team. And today we're going to cover why mobile AR matters, how it works, tips for a seamless user experience, and tips for best in class. So we'll show you some companies doing mobile AR really well and representing their brand or product in very unique and cool ways. And so just to get started, I wanted to just review really fast the landscape. The term mobile augmented reality was coined in 1990. And since that time, it's sort of been making its way into mainstream. And you might first have noticed it in the late 90s for football, for the virtual 1st and 10. And then from there, there's a mobile game that comes out that's very primitive. But really, you get to 2015 where you have Snapchat filters that come online. And this was a big game changer. A year later, Pokemon Go comes out, and it's really the first international mobile AR gaming experience. A lot of people started using mobile AR as a result, and businesses began to take notice. And so from that, you have different companies now incorporating mobile AR and changing the way that consumers can interact with products. And then we get to nowadays where the technology has gotten so good that you can have this really cool dynamic relationship between the physical and the virtual world, where you can scan and get information of the physical world and use that to generate virtual content features to try on clothes. So there's so many different really cool examples with this. And a lot of people, when they think about augmented reality, they think about Iron Man. And this came out in 2008, and that was right before you start really seeing it being used in mobile AR. And I think that what this is a good example of, it shows, it kind of like sparked our interest and our imagination into what what augmented reality can do for us in our day-to-day lives. So there's a lot of flavors of augmented reality. For the purposes of this talk, we're just going to stick with mobile AR. And that's basically just superimposed computer-generated content on top of the physical world. And you can experience this on your mobile phone, on a tablet, on a webcam. And in one way, it's a little bit more limiting. So when you think about that Iron Man example, he's touching, he's interacting with the space around him versus being confined to a phone or a tablet. However, we're on our phone all the time. We're on our tablet. We're on the computer. So we're already using these tools. And so this is just really augmenting, enhancing our way of going about why we're shopping or why we're socializing. So it's adding to what we already are doing. So why mobile AR matters? Mobile AR is definitely a game changer in how we're interacting with technology. This is particularly true right now with COVID. COVID-19 has changed the way we work, we live, we socialize, and there's new challenges in how to stay isolated but still connected. And so mobile AR does three things really well. It's a great visualization tool, annotation, and storytelling. It allows us to visualize new realities, tell powerful stories, make tasks easier, and create a shared workspace. So I'm going to show you what I mean by this. So this shared workspace and collaboration, we have this example here, and this is really cool. This is customer, and you have the technician. So the customer is now with this technology, they're able to show their physical space. In this case, troubleshoot her vacuum. So she can show the technician through her phone in real time, the vacuum. They can draw on the space. He can point the customer exactly to where she needs to go to fix the problem. And this can be used in education. This can be used in so many different capacities, the shared workspace. So it's a very powerful tool. And also, Snapchat filters came online, and since then, it's just been used in all different formats. And it gives us a little bit of personality. We can have these virtual workplace meetings, and we can change our background. We can change our faces. We can add a little bit of our personalities to things. It makes it a little bit more exciting. And during this time of isolation, some people might be feeling down or isolated or bored, maybe unmotivated to get changed or even put like makeup on or do things like that. So having these little features can boost morale, can get people more socializing and interacting with others just through these little added visual virtual features. And since that time, so since you see the Pokemon Go and the Snapchat filters, you really see e-commerce adopt this technology. And so just a little bit of play, so you have the Snapchat filters, but now you can try on glasses, you can interact with the products, you can see what makeup would look like on you before you buy it. And so this is just a huge game changer and what we can do, what online shopping experience is now. And beyond just the aesthetics, mobile AR can be used as a tool to tailor a product to the customer. In this case, you're able to scan your body, create that information, which then can be translated into virtual avatar, could be allow you to try on clothes, products. So it's really cool. And so customers are definitely taking notice of mobile AR, and it is impacting the way people shop. So 72% of customers purchase items they didn't plan to just because of mobile AR experience. 71% of customers spent more time shopping, more time engaged with the product when it was shown through mobile AR. And 61% of customers preferred the store with AR experience. So you might be asking, how does this work? How does mobile AR, how do I get started? So the first thing you really want to ask yourself is, if you're wanting to get started in mobile AR, is this something you're going to want to do in-house, or are you going to want to outsource? And that really depends on the type of experience, your technological background, and the type of tools that you're going to be using. So what I'm going to show you in the next slide is a little bit of the different levels of mobile AR experiences and what you would need to get started for those. Overall, there's some really cool SDR kits for this, AR Core, AR Kit. Some of these are free, some of them are just really very inexpensive, and there's so many tutorials online that you can really get started, go through the tutorials, and really be ready to start creating some experience. And so you really need to then ask yourself what ultimately your end goal is in the type of experience, because there's different levels. If you just want to do a beginner level, just have a customer explore the brand personality a bit, you might not even need to get an SDK or anything like that. And I'll show you an example of what that will be. But more intermediate or advanced level, where you're interacting with the product, or it's enabling a more enriched experience, you might need to have a little bit more resources put into it. And then getting to an expert experience, which I'll explain what that is, which is really just sharing this experience, having this really immersive experience with the brand or products. And so for something that is beginner, something with this, you have these living wine labels. They're really cool. It's marker based. So you take your phone or your tablet, and it picks up on either like a Ruco marker, or in this case, it's the wine label itself, and it triggers a video. It can trigger an image. It can trigger text. And so the virtual content sticks right over that marker. And something like this, you don't need an SDK. You don't need to know any coding or really have a technical thing. You can easily sort of put something together for this. And it's a fun way to interact with the brand, and it doesn't take a lot of resources. Something a little bit more intermediate is it's markerless. So you have like a Snapchat filter or something that you can like check out your hair color, things like that. And with this, it's scanning your face. There's facial fiducials, and it uses the face recognition. And it's a little bit more complex, but it's really well established. So there's a lot of tools and resources out there to get started in this, where you don't really need a lot of background knowledge. If you wanted to do something a little bit more advanced, which would be maybe in this case, like placing a product into the physical environment. So there's a little bit more variability on what someone's environment is going to look like, the lighting, all these things. And so with this, it allows this cool interaction with the product, but at a cost of just having a little bit more complexity and uncertainty. And so you need to have the person scan the space, and it's good to, I'll give you some direction afterwards and like the best way to go about doing something like this. But it creates a really cool experience. And then finally, with expert, you have this very multifaceted experience. The person is the protagonist in the story. And so what we're looking at here is Nike has this really cool promotion where they release a pair of sneakers, and you have to go on a scavenger hunt all around the city. And so you're picking up clues as you go along, and the first like 100 people to find the virtual shoes get a free pair. So now this is really immersive. You're excited, you're on an adventure, you're interacting with the brand, you're very motivated. And so it's a very full immersive experience. So some tips for creating a seamless user experience with mobile AR. So as I sort of mentioned on before, the environment really matters, especially if you're doing something where you're placing a product into the environment itself. So you need to scan a bit of the surroundings, and lighting here is very key. And so it's really important that you can't plan for all the environments that someone might actually use this mobile AR experience, but what you can do is you can instruct and prompt the user on the best way to go about experiencing that particular mobile AR feature. And some things to also keep in mind is the texture, if it matches too much. So in this here, this dog blends in with the chair itself. So it just sorts of, the dog disappears a bit into the background. So keeping in mind the sort of textures you're using, making things have more contrast to stand out more so they don't sort of get lost in someone's environment. And then also the size of the space makes a difference. If you are looking at AR mobile furniture, let's say, and you're looking at a bed, but you're trying to place it in a very small space, it's not going to behave correctly. It's going to float. It's not going to know what to do because it's not meant to be within such a small space for that product viewing experience. So these are all things that you want to think about, to plan for, and to instruct and guide the user through. So they are using it they're really experiencing the product as you intended them to experience it. And then also just keep it simple. Sometimes there's this need or this, we want to make things complex. We want to add in more features. We want it to, you know, the bigger the better. However, that can be a big mistake, especially you have this newer technology. You have people that have different skill sets with it. So you want something that's going to be very simple. You want them focused on the actual mobile AR experience. You don't want them lost in tools and things like that that aren't really adding any benefit to the product experience. So with this, reduce editing options. If you have things that are going to distort the product, like resizing or shading or different tools that do things like that, that then once you enable that, you no longer have a true representation of what that product is, you might want to rethink, do I really need to have this in the mobile AR experience for the consumer to be able to interact with the product and understand the product? So also with this house app, the house has different ways. You could do like a static image of a furniture. You could do the 360, which most people are familiar with. Then they have this 2D feature as well. And what they did is when they made their mobile AR, they took a lot of the 2D features and they put it in the mobile AR, and they don't really make sense in this experience. So having things like here, like duplicating and other things like that, don't really make sense if you just want someone to know what a product looks like in your house. And then something else that's kind of a fun thing. So they have to go through some steps, some tutorials, some scanning if it's going to be a product within that space. And so what you can do to really make this experience more exciting for the consumer is you can calibrate as a game. You can guide the user without them knowing it. You can hide the calibration steps through the gameplay. You can make it a storytelling element. You can provide feedback prompts in a fun way. And all while you're doing this, you can be collecting user data on the experience and constantly refining and improving the overall experience. Finally, something to consider, and you don't see this a lot right now in a mobile ARs, but the use of audio. So you can do a very like visual spatial experience that is really immersive. It's very cool. In this example, this is Bose. They have a really interesting little Star Wars, The Rise of Skywalker AR experience for their phone. And with this, they have this sound storytelling all about, and you get added sound bonuses and insight into the movie itself that you wouldn't normally get if you just watched it. So they're really going to be building on this, and you're probably going to see a lot more collaborative sort of mobile AR with the audio in as well, to try to get this full experience. Okay, so some tips for just how to go about really just using mobile AR to its fullest capacity. And so I'm going to talk about some examples of companies using it in really cool ways right now. Okay, so one of the simple ways, and I talked about this is the beginner level of the buckets of mobile AR, is you can create a Snapchat filter. You can get your brand out there. And by doing this, you can advertise on social media platforms. You can get people wearing your brand logo. You can get people sharing images or videos of themselves with that. So it's a really just great starting off place that doesn't require a lot, but has the exposure to have so many people like seeing the product, interacting with the product on some level, like interested in what this brand is about. You can also, the try before you buy experience is huge. Home Depot is a really good example of this with their Project Color. So no longer, you're not getting swatches from the thing and trying to figure out what a color will look like in your space. This try before you buy experience allows you to see with your walls through your phone what a particular paint color would be. And since they put this on their mobile feature, they've seen almost a 13% increase in sales for their particular paint that is supported with this. So it's definitely, it removes that product uncertainty, and it gives people, a buyer, a much more higher level of confidence that what they're buying is going to work in their space. And that's really important. All right, and you can also personalize the whole online buying experience. What we're seeing here, Nike has this cool feature where before they saw 64% of people were returning items, returning shoes that weren't fitting right. And so they wanted to figure out a way to help people buy shoes online, but make sure that they actually fit, so they're not losing money in returns. So they have this really cool thing that scans your feet, and it will size it down to like, I think 2 milliliter air. And then you can pick your shoes out. You have your exact size. Different brands have different sizing differences. So it also takes into account that. And so it's done a really great thing in reducing the amount of online returns for buying the sneakers. And it's a fun experience as well. Finally, a personal touch with connecting consumers with brands. And so here we have this fun guy. So he takes you around the city. You can do this with different things. So you can find store locations while you're navigating. It's almost like this gamified experience. You can get information like store locations. They can navigate inside the store while showing you products, information on products, things that you could possibly use products for. And so this kind of plays into this whole end-to-end consumer journey experience where you can start advertising on social media. You can get them interacting with the product right away. You can get them to the store in a fun game way with this guy, and then you can feature products within the store all through these mobile AR platforms. So it's very immersive, it's engaging, and it's definitely something that you'll see a lot more of. And then finally, creating this 360 consumer experience. And so you can allow customers to navigate new spaces, find critical features. And this particular one with Airbnb AR, what you can do is when you get to the Airbnb house without having to necessarily meet a host, you can launch this app. They'll show you where the fire alarms are, where the safety things are, where different little features in the house are. So it's really immersive. It's just a cool new way to think about like how mobile AR can be used in all different realms. You can, for navigation, for interacting with products, for a home experience where you're able to get important information about that space through this mobile AR. So it's definitely really cool. And so finally, those tips, turn it into a brand experience, promote the try before you buy. You can tailor the product to the customer. You can gamify the experience and integrate it as a feature. There's just so many endless possibilities with mobile AR, and you can really touch on all parts of that customer journey and really enhance all of those ways that our customer can interact with your brand, your product, and the experience overall. You can get them engaged with the product and service. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Gia. That was very insightful. There were some really cool examples in there, and there were a lot of good information. So we have a couple of questions. I'm going to kind of wrap those up into one single question. How do you go about testing usability for something like mobile AR and some of these experiences that we saw?
Yeah. Well, you want to know first, like, what is the main goal of that experience with the product? And then what type of users are going to be using this sort of thing? And so you want to make sure that when you're testing something like a mobile AR feature, you want to make sure that it's being used as intended, that the user understands what they're experiencing, and that they're actually like, there's some enhancement in their experience with this. So there are different ways you want to know like your main goal, and then you really want to have a game plan and the best way to go about how are they interacting with it. Do they have a knowledge base? Is there a learning curve with it? What are they? You don't want them to interact with it and come away with a bad experience because it's a bad mobile AR platform. It's the product isn't really featured as it should be. So you really want to make sure that you're getting that feedback from the user at all different times during it. So going in, knowing what their preconceived sort of knowledges on the experience, seeing how they're interacting with it, the tools, how they're using it, how long it's taking them to get started, and then also then collecting that feedback at the end on what that experience was like.
Awesome. Yeah, that was very insightful. Thank you. So we do have more questions trickling in, and just so everybody knows, you can ask more questions in the questions tab. So yeah, go ahead and trickle more questions in. So the next question is, what kind of devices support mobile AR?
So right now, a lot of devices, you can do Android, you can do iOS. Typically with Android, you need to download a special app. Of course, the version is important. If you have an older phone, it might not necessarily support that platform. But mobile AR, iOS has its own features with it. Android, you can do tablets, iPads, and then you can even do the experience through your computer using a webcam, which is really cool for trying on clothes, things like that, because you can get your full body there, and you're able to get a really good understanding of what something would look like before buying it.
Cool, awesome. So we got another question. Where do you recommend beginners of mobile AR go for more resources/information?
Oh, there's definitely tons of resources online. So you can check out some of the blogs in Key Lime Interactive, but also it depends what you want to do, really. If you want to just like dip your feet in and get that branding experience with the Snapchat filters, there's some really good resources for that through Snapchat itself. But if you want to explore a little bit more, like you should maybe check out the SDKs for it, AR Core, AR Kit, just see what some of the tutorials look like, kind of just get a good understanding of it on what the technology is, how it works, and the different ways that you can use it.
And also, attendees, we also have the handout. So if you can download that handout, there's going to be a lot of resources and the tips that we shared in the masterclass today in there as well. So you can always download that. Okay, so one more question to finish up the webinar. How does mixed reality or MR fit into all of this?
Gotcha. So with augmented reality, it's digital elements overlaid on through like a camera or smartphone onto the physical. But with mixed reality, it combines elements of both AR and VR. So you have real world and digital objects interaction. And maybe a good example, like the Iron Man, I think maybe would be considered a little bit more mixed reality with that versus just that. It's really that interactive element that mixed reality has, where augmented, you're there, it's overlaid, but you're not able to necessarily manipulate it in that.
Cool, awesome. And can you use some of the same tools that we just mentioned for mixed reality as well?
Possibly. I don't know if the technology is there within the smart devices for that yet, but definitely things will be coming out in the next few years where that mixed reality is going to be more tangible and something that people are able to have that more interactive thing where they're actually can do gestures and impact the way the virtual content is playing off that physical world.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you for all of that. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. So if you could go to the next slide. So thank you all for attending, and you have been an excellent audience. And we do have another masterclass coming up next month. And if you have any more questions, feel free to email us at emtech@keylimeinteractive.com. And with that, we bid you adieu. Thank you for attending. Bye.